Hello, everybody, and happy Independence Day to my American friends. Um, I was just reading and reflecting on Psalm 9 and wanted to make this video to share those reflections with you. Some of you know about me that I'm an unpublished novelist. It was a closely guarded secret for the longest time. And so part of how that affects me is I have a hard time processing stories without thinking about where's the author taking me. Um, it's interesting to see the building up of some literary devices. And I remember Patrick at when he was at First City, he mentioned that good music always builds tension and then resolves it. And so there's that cycle of the escalating of tension and then the resolution, which makes for a moving experience in good melody. And so um, I'm looking for as I read and pray through Psalm 9, I see that tension and I really feel it. Um, and I ask myself, in light of the big picture of the Bible, that God is writing his story through thousands of years of human history, um, what is he telling me through Psalm 9? And so for starters, first of all, just as kind of a little aside, the preamble in some translations says that it's to the choir master according to set to the tune of Death of the Son, which I thought was really cool. Like the Son of God is going to die, and we have a melody with that name. But so where is God taking me? I see, first of all, we see David, he's praising the Lord. And then as we read it, it just struck me how much violence is in this psalm. And it seems, I don't get the impression that David is praising the Lord in spite of God's anger and his destruction and his wrath, but rather because of it. And I know that a lot of people would get unsettled by that idea that God is a God of wrath and anger and destruction. But here David is saying, hey, this is great. This is righteous judgment. This is turning back enemies, making the nations perish, and even the memory of them is gone, wiped from the face of the earth. And so with that, I can't help but thinking about kind of the anger and the violence and the destruction that's happening right now in 2020, where we have a lot of people there have been riots recently, right? And I don't want to paint everybody with a broad brush. So I'm not talking about peaceful demonstrators. I feel like there's a lot of people who are rightly angry, but wrongly directing the anger. That some people just want to throw bricks through windows. We want to tear things down. We want to tear down monuments, tear down people, tear down institutions, tear down history. We're just going to destroy it all. And at the end of the day, is that really solving anything? And I see here we have God, here we have enemies, right? The word enemy is a very real word. And we have David saying God is going to give him justice from his enemies. I think we struggle sometimes thinking about God as a God of destruction, but I see it as being really beautiful and praiseworthy. Anybody who tends a garden knows there's a lot of destruction that goes into the prep work of that garden, right? You have to tear up the weeds. You have to destroy the little grubs and the critters that crawl and eat the roots. You have to protect. You have to destroy first before you can grow. If you're in construction, you got to get rid of all the wood rot. Any moldy drywall has to go. You got to demolish before you can rebuild. And as a writer, I know that if I have a paragraph or some sentences that just aren't doing it, I can't just add good prose on top of bad and hope that that's going to work well. No, I have to, as they say in the craft, murder my darlings. I have to get rid of what isn't working in order to make room for what will work. And we know the end of this story. We know that God is a God not of annihilation. He does not just completely decimate things, but he plants and replaces. He doesn't just destroy, he redeems. He doesn't leave smoldering craters in his wake, but those holes in the ground he plants seeds into. That is how that works, right? That's how you tend the garden. And so thinking about the violence that we see nowadays, it's right anger, wrongly pointed. and with no end to it. There doesn't seem to be any resolution. There's this escalating tension. It doesn't resolve. It just keeps going. And so David, though, he's not taking anger and vengeance in his own hands. He's trusting in God. And verse 10 super just is prominent to me. Those who know your name put their trust in you, for you, O Lord, have not forsaken those who seek you. I think it would be easy for me to be just like, and in a lot of ways, I find myself doing the same thing as the rioters. I am seeking an enemy. I'm seeking an enemy. There's something wrong. I've got to find the enemy and destroy the enemy. I've got to take matters into my own hands. Can I be like God, or like David, and trust that God is going to provide that justice? Or do I think that I can do it better? Do I think that I can take matters into my own hand and do it better? I'm going to leave that question open-ended for the purposes of this video, but that the Lord will judge the nations. At the end of it, the Lord is the one who judges the nations. And so as I remember that all scripture is profitable for teaching, how can I apply that attitude of praising God that he doesn't let things sit? He messes up the evil in this world and he replaces it with what is good. That for those who seek him, the needy, or in verse 10, those who seek him, he will not forsake, right? He will never forsake those who seek him. So as I think about what and whom am I seeking throughout the day, I want to make sure that I am seeking the Lord and I know that I have safety in him, and not be seeking an enemy and seeking to destroy, just destroy my enemy, that it is God who establishes the nations. And how appropriate is that on the 4th of July to be considering God establishing nations, making nations to rise and fall, and as we celebrate the shackles of the British Empire falling to the bottom of Boston Harbor, let's rejoice in the Lord, who is sovereign over all of these situations and circumstances, and even celebrate the destruction, as hard as that may be. And though we can't always see the end, it's confusing, it's hard, but we know that God does not forsake those who seek him. It's a promise. All right. So my prayer is that the Psalms find everybody well in the coming season, and that we would all be blessed and be blessings. Peace, everybody.